A wonderful good afternoon. My name is Gaby Burt from the Journey International Director, and this is our Real Talk afternoon today, this Friday. And we have a very, very interesting theme today. It's about social media and the kind of addictions and the problems that this media can cause, and we wanted to explore that. And my guest today is Kevin Billett. So many of you probably know him. He is Brandon's life partner. He is founder of The Journey, CEO of The Journey, author, seminar leader. So he has also very, very strong opinion in this subject. And I would love to welcome you, Kevin, here to our talk today, to our Real Talk today. And also for anybody listening, if any questions are popping up, please type it in the chat box and we see if we can accommodate that. So welcome, Kevin. Thank you for joining me today. And social media. Thanks. And all the pitfalls, the challenges and everything else.
Yeah, there are huge challenges here, Gaby. I mean, I know that the vast majority of us engage in some way on social media, and the Journey itself uses the private forums within social media for interactions. And as you said, I'm passionate about this. There are massive pitfalls here, and I think we're in recent times only beginning to understand the depth of the difficulties that social media in its present form. Am I cutting out here, Gaby? Is that what you're seeing? Because I'm seeing my...
You were, and you're good now.
Can you hear me though?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. I think we're just beginning to uncover the depth of difficulties that social media in its present forms is causing for humanity, and particularly for youngsters, Gaby. The bottom line here, I think, to start is to say that we need, first of all, to realize why social media is there. It's not here as a public service. It's not presented as a gift to humanity. It doesn't have positive intent. Social media is essentially a series of platforms that have been invented and developed and run, from my perspective, by people with massive ego problems of their own, from sociopathy through to severe narcissism. And they've one goal here. They want to gather information from people so they can make money out of it. This is their goal. So it's not there as a service. It's not there with any benign or altruistic purpose. It's there to make money. And it is designed in a massively manipulative way. It is designed to push our buttons of wanting more. It's designed to produce dopamine rewards in the brain. It's designed to cause us to engage, to get emotionally invested, and to just give away more information about ourselves that can be used to be monetized then by the platform. So I'm cynical about the reason they're here. Having said that, can they be good? I mean, I think there are circumstances under which they can be of service. They can cause us to, or allow us to connect in ways that we wouldn't otherwise connect, and to have our social needs met in new ways. But they're new ways, and they're relatively underexplored ways. Because the bottom line here is we're social animals. We are historically, great tribes people. We band together because that gives us what we need to develop psychologically, to develop emotionally, to develop just healthily in our well-being. We need proximity. We need touch. We need interaction with people like us to develop healthily with definitely with our emotions, with our sense of self, to develop self-esteem, to feel that we belong, to feel that we're safe, and ultimately to find significance. And so classic social interactions, so face-to-face social interactions, if they, I'm sorry, Gaby, this is too distracting as it is. You're cutting out, I'm cutting out. Is this really working as it is?
I think
I'm keeping seeing black screens in front.
Yeah, I
okay.
don't. I see you and I hear you.
Okay. Okay, ask Chris, will you? Because if people are missing this, then we need to rethink.
Chris, can you tell us what the if we are
reassurance? We need social reassurance.
We need social reassurance. Yeah, I see you fine, Kevin, and I hear you. And Lars is saying yes, we hear and see you. So I don't know what's happening your end.
I'll put up with the kind of black screen coming up from time to time. Okay, Chris, we'll leave it at that and let's carry on. So classically, we have our social needs, our developmental needs met by close interaction. And this so-called social media is a brand new and rather untried version of social interaction, where we are really encouraged to react in this kind of two-dimensional way online. And it doesn't give us the rewards that we need, but it produces addictions in us. We seem to be getting, when we post something, if we get the likes, it hits the brain center that produces the dopamine rewards, the feel-good factors. But then it leaves us in anxiety because we want more and more of it. And the platforms are designed to milk this for all it's worth. And so my concerns are around the way that social media pretends to be one thing. It pretends to bring us closer. It does not bring us closer. It pretends to do social good, or at least have the capability of producing social good. I don't see an awful lot of that coming about for the majority of people, Gaby, and I'm very kind of wary and cynical about the effect that it has on youth here. And I'll tell you why. We get feedback throughout our lives as we're growing up. Our behaviors become modified by the feedback we get from those around us. We get rewarded, we get punished, normally in a relatively close social circle. So we learn what works socially, and we learn healthily what doesn't work socially. For most of us, this takes place in a home environment. I mean, the most public really would be in a school classroom. And so it's relatively confined. When we start to get feedback, whether this is the strokes that ego craves, or whether this is the put downs and the criticism and worse that takes place online, it's taking place on now a public forum that magnifies that feedback. It makes it seem universal, particularly to young users. It's, just multiplied. It's like the feedback that most of us got in private now in public and turned up 100 times. And it can be shattering to get negative feedback, for people to troll us, for people to abuse us, for people to criticize us, and not just our views and our opinions, but criticize who we are online. If that lands with immature ego development, it is massively damaging. So it's addictive and damaging at the same time. And I feel like, there are lessons that we need to draw at this stage out of it in order to be healthy. So I know I'm negative about it largely here, Gaby. I want to ask you your experience and what you've found out through the journey before I go rabbiting on much more here.
Well, I'm with you, Kevin, and there's a few areas that I have seen, and one of the things that is really concerning to me, and this is a general overview of what I see nowadays, and this is just when groups of people are together in socializing with each other, and there is 4 or 5 people on a table and 3 of them have a phone in their hand and are not engaging. That there is actually a misalignment where people are no longer used to actually communicate and no longer used to speak to each other because they are more here than they are present with each other. That is scary to me and is bad news. Another thing happened a few months ago where I found out that the daughter of a friend that's over in the States, she was looking for a holiday job. And it was in a,
Yes.
gosh, what was it? It was a boutique of some kind selling stuff. And she
Okay.
only got
yes.
the job
In a close,
because she had
I know what you're talking about.
because she had an active Instagram timeline, and that was part of her being accepted into a job. And so it's almost it's youth and young people are being forced into using it.
You know, the worry here, Gaby, in this particular case, the worry is not that it's just an active, and in this case, I think it was an Instagram account, but that it is glossy, stylized, hyper managed, sexualized as well for teenagers. And this girl was applying for a job in a fashion outlet, retail fashion outlet. And I've seen some of her Instagram posts, and posts of girls like her, teenage girls, and they are, massively sexualized and sometimes encouraging some narcissism. There's a belief here that, here's my image, this is me. And this is a fundamental mistake of ego. We're not our image. We're something far deeper, far more valuable, far more profound than that. But the superficiality of social media is encouraging this belief that the reflection we see, based on the pretenses, based on the falsehoods that we can project, that these are actually real, that these are a reflection, yes, of our worth, yes, of our value in society, yes, of our position in society, but more than that, of who we actually are. And again, it's disruptive to our growth. It's disruptive to our health as we mature. And the problem here is, again, that it's all magnified. It's all ramped up and kind of multiplied by the amount of interaction that takes place online. We're not used to this psychologically. We're used to getting feedback from relatively small numbers of people. And this, it's like, if you open up your channels, anyone can comment. Anyone with an axe to grind can criticize you. Now, if on the other hand, they're praising you, it seems great, and it is addictive. So it causes us to engage. It pushes our reward buttons, but then all of a sudden, bang, and we get devastated, and we don't have the tools to deal with that devastation. This is where the journey comes in and can be of value here. I don't want to quite go there yet, but we need to find different ways of finding significance and finding emotional health and knowing who we are before we can healthily engage in this way. So I'm sounding, I know, a bit like a Cassandra here. I'm really concerned about it, very concerned.
It makes total sense, Kevin. And as we wrote in the description, there is young people and vulnerable people. And, when negative feedback, when there is nobody to turn to, what do you do with that when you have no way of figuring out how to get over that, and self-worth is something that I think all of us had to do a lot of work on over the years as we've been in the journey. And then you've got a young population that is addicted, that is absolutely focused and addicted to that, and has no way of being grounded in that, or having some proper feedback. And that is hugely concerning. And I'm the other thing that's a problem with social media in that sense, and the overuse.
Pause there one second, because there's more in this point here. We're talking about self-esteem, and self-esteem is not a gift for any of us. Self-esteem can be nurtured, can be developed, can be healthily bolstered over time, but it's earned, it's won, it doesn't come as a birthright. It is a function of our conditioning. And when we get healthy conditioning, for me, it's like it's a gradual process to come to terms with who we are, to come to peace with who we are, to learn to be at home in our own skin. When we're subject to exaggerated feedback like this, both positive and negative, and unregulated feedback, random feedback, sometimes horribly, distortedly negative feedback, it is very damaging to the growth and healthy development of self-esteem. So it's like we need to learn some lessons very, very quickly here. And I'm sorry I interrupted you, but there was more to that subject, Yeah, self-esteem is not a given, and this is damaging to the process of developing a healthy self-esteem.
Well, that's exactly what I was pointing at, Kevin, because I know how much work I did on self-esteem here, and I wasn't subjected to the amount of social media that youth is subjected to today. So it was just within a confined social structure where, you either had praise and as you say, it's praise or, good feedback or bad feedback. It's the same coin, two different sides, It doesn't.
What causes us to engage, Gabby, is the extremes, just the nice warm and fuzzies don't do much, but the extreme positives, so the extreme ego strokes that we get, the things that pull us towards this narcissistic tendency, they cause engagement. They make money for the owners of social media companies. And the negative, even more so. Because they create controversy, because they push our anger buttons and our outrage buttons and our right to speak whatever we want to speak buttons, massively emotionally. Well, then here's the flip side of this, though, Gabby, right? When youngsters particularly, and I'm talking of millennials mainly here, okay, because they don't have the coping tools to deal with this heightened criticism, they are turning against free speech. Now, for me, in a liberal democracy, free speech is a foundation stone of the system that we've relied on and that has treated us fairly well and healthily in Western societies over many decades. But when free speech is challenged, all of a sudden you have propaganda and you have massive distortions. So A, we don't know what's true and what's not true. And B, we can't have intelligent argument on any subject. And so naturally enough, with the millennial generation, they are getting phobic about what people can say about them. And they're turning against free speech. You see it everywhere. I'm seeing it particularly, I've experienced it directly with the gender debate and, gender pronouns and labels and rights and the rest of it, which, in principle, I think anything that creates equality is a good discussion. But I've had discussions with youngsters who only want to hear their own opinion and will not listen to anything else. Now, this for me is a result of the phobia that's created by heightened negative feedback in a public environment. But now it's turned against itself. Do you see what I'm saying here? It's like the phobic response is, okay, let's shut down what can be said. And we're in a negative loop here. This is a very dangerous, vicious cycle. So I think, if we're to approach this healthily, we're not going to be relying on governments or social media companies in the first instance to change anything here. This is a phenomenon that has massive energy behind it and huge financial investment. So the changes that need to be made, I think, need to start with us. They need to start at home. And I think it becomes vital that as mature adults, first of all, we tell the truth about what social media is. We realize that it's a cynical system designed to make money off us in the short run. And then we decide how we want to engage. So we're conscious in our choice of use here. Do you want to be on public forums? Do you want to open your channels to all sorts of feedback? Or do you want to use social media for your own ends? Are you willing for it to be more contained, more private, more moderated? Will you use social media for your own ends, healthy ends hopefully, rather than just be addicted to the buzz of it with the risks that come with that? So as mature adults, I want to say, let's make a choice first. Realizing what this is, let's decide how we want to engage with social media, if we want to engage at all. I mean, truthfully, I engage on forums, specific forums, but not generally on open media here. But that's my choice. I mean, I'm saying adults, as mature adults should make their own choice. But then from this place, really to both educate our children and emotionally support them, because they need it. They need to find social ways to begin to healthily build self-esteem. So the feedback we give our children, let's make sure that we're affirming to them that they are good. They are essentially positive, worthwhile, valuable beings. And then the feedback we give them, because we do need as parents to give feedback, should be about behaviors. And to stop or to criticize or to correct a behavior doesn't mean criticizing the person. And to make that distinction with them. And then to give our children tools to deal with emotions when they arise. To give them permission to feel, to give them permission to open and feel an emotion until it completes. Rather than knee-jerk reacting into, responses like we see online. They get carried way out of control, way out of line, way out of any integrity. We say things online, we post things that we wouldn't say to someone face to face. So instead of this reactivity, to give our youth the tools to stay open, the tools to allow emotions to be present without moving, without attaching meaning to them, and to allow them to complete and allow them to flow, so that we know emotions don't own us, they don't control us, they're a part of life, they're a natural part of life. And if we allow them, they can be healthy. So like this, and then to encourage our children from this to, I know this is sometimes much more difficult than I'm saying here, but to encourage by direct example, to engage socially and to gain significance within defined groups face to face, to be company with those who support us, to be company with those who get us, who see us, who want good for us, and to gain our significance and gradually to build self-esteem in real ways. And I know I'm sounding massively old-fashioned here, and I feel like it's because we've been conditioned for millennia in this way, and to change within a decade or so here, the stimuli, the potency of the feedback, the public nature of the feedback, the humiliations here, the copycat invitations that are here. I really feel that we need to take a step back, and we need to engage healthily with our children in these ways, so they know who they are by the affirmation, the confirmation that we bring to them, by the embrace of love that we bring for them, so they know they're loved. They're not going to find this online. They're not going to healthily build, functioning ego online. It gets distorted. It's polarized, pulled either towards the inflated narcissism, or the opposite side of this can be deflated narcissism, where we then get so hurt and devastated that we want to lash out. We want to hurt other people because we've been hurt, and our behavior is being encouraged in these negative, polarized ways. The alternative, I think, is very old-fashioned. It's really encouraging, moderate and conscious use of social media, and bringing it back home, bringing it back to family environment, to close social environment, and building the abilities to tolerate, to feel, to explore, to allow emotions to be here without needing to expel, without needing to blame, without needing to self-justify or lash out in order to create a temporary win. So it's a big ask here. And I don't imagine this is going to happen anytime soon. It's a big problem, and I think the answers are intense in themselves. They are answers that will rely on a big opening in families and a big reconnection in families.
Yeah, and what I'm strongly noticing within friendships and sort of younger friends of ours who have younger children, what I'm actually seeing, and this is really where the journey comes in, is where people have a greater depth and understanding of what this avoidance and this constant attention seeking, if you want to call it that, is causing, is that more awake and more aware families have a different approach to that for themselves and for their children. And I'm seeing that. I was sharing with Chris before you came on today, and I said, I have on Facebook is pretty much the only thing where I do something, and I have 99% of the people who are there are people from within the journey. So it's a pretty safe platform. And if I do let somebody in who isn't, and all of a sudden it gets political or it gets opinionated, I throw them out. I'm really not interested. I want to know how my friends are doing. I want to know if people are well, if they had a birthday, or if they are happy, or if they've got a problem. And that to me is a conversation that I'm happy to have. But once it's open to whoever, I'm not interested. And I see that so much with friends of ours who share the same, and they also are a lot more conscious with children. And I would love to see more of that, because that is
absolutely,
if we understand what it does. And the other side of social media is this constant paying attention to it. You totally miss what's going on around you. There is so much investment in time consuming. I was reading a joke the other day. It's like, if you have insomnia, don't open Twitter at night, because it can only get worse. It's like, it's a minefield. It's like, and I just don't get it. So I'm either beyond it, over it, too old for it. I don't know what I am, but I'm agreeing with absolutely everything you say. And for anybody who is listening here, please, if you have children if you have youngsters, if there are vulnerable people around, be a good example. Be a good example of creating community, a community with real people, of speaking, of talking, of paying attention to each other, looking into each other's eyes and speaking, and this is where we connect. This is where we can connect from the heart. It doesn't happen in Facebook. It doesn't happen in Instagram. It doesn't happen in TikTok, in YouTube, in wherever, and I mean, we're using this particular Real Talk to be streamed out on YouTube and Facebook, but hopefully it's reaching people who are listening, and hopefully introducing some of what's being spoken here into their closer community, into their families, and being really aware of the damaging effects it has on us, on our children, more on our children than us. I think we are already shaped and formed, so the last few years aren't going to change us hugely, but our children, our youngsters, that is scary, you know, and what it does to,
That's
as you
my
said,
biggest concern, Gabby. Yeah, I think what you're describing there is conscious use, Gabby. You know, you recognize that you want to engage healthily with people who are actually your friends and are not just numbers on a screen that make you feel good because you've got, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 so-called friends and you've never met them. It's just nonsense, you know. But it's part of this addictive system that builds notional significance, and it's a complete fabrication. It's just not real. So yes, I mean, I'm the same, or I was the same when I was active on Facebook. If I had negativity, I would just take people off. I mean, I'm always interested in debate, but I'm interested in debate that comes from a conscious place. That if someone has a different opinion, I'm always open to hearing that and to reconsidering, any position that I might hold. But from respect, from integrity, from authenticity, not from lashing out and the horrible negativities that I've seen and read about. So yes, I think there's a fresh
thing,
start
Kevin,
here.
There's another aspect to it, and that is how easily we shut down. You know, as human beings, it's like the slightest criticism or negative comment that comes to us, whether we are aware of it or not, we shut down. And when people aren't aware of that, we go through life shut down and we're missing all of life. And so I can't stress it strongly enough. So if you as a grown-up listening to this, just maybe you've had some negative feedback at some point. You know, we're doing a session at the moment in one of the advanced retreats where we're talking about feedback and how it has affected us in our life, how it still is affecting us, and what kind of shutdown this creates. And maybe just explore yourself. And if you don't know how to, give the journey a try. You know, we're doing such amazing work in our online courses now, where we're making it available for very, very low cost. It's all it needs is your time. And if you want to wake up to any of the shutdowns, the times, because it's, you see, what happens is as a youngster, you know, you've been hurt by somebody, you come home and mum says, how are you doing? I'm doing fine. You know, so it's a kind of a standard response. And yet we don't know what's really going on the inside. So the invitation here is start with us, start with you, and find out how these negativities have caused us to shut down and open. And then once you know how easy it is to open, then it becomes really an impactful, impulsive to share that with those around us, especially the youngsters in the family. So that's the invitation here. Can't stress it strongly enough. It doesn't give you anything that you don't have already. Sorry,
it's more vital than ever before. I said it's more vital, Gabby, that we learn to be emotionally healthy, more vital than ever, because with media being the way it is, we are triggered massively in ways that we're not built to accommodate and to be healthy with. And historically, you know, this has been on local scale. Now it's on you know, massive scale, global scale. And so, you know, our anger is triggered, I mean, numerous times in a day. Our, I mean, psyches can be hurt. Our emotions can be shattered. We can be humiliated. We can be, I mean, brought to fear states, heightened fear states, numerous times in a day, like our existence is being threatened, all taking place online. So this is like a speeding up of a natural process here. And I think it's vital that we learn to be open with and to process these emotions healthily, to know what they are, to stop attaching false significance to them, and to allow them to flow in our lives and to come to completion, so that we know that we're not puppets on strings with our emotions. We're actually, much wider, much wiser than that, deeper than that. Emotions taking place within the beingness that's here. And the peace can be found in the heart of any emotion is a massive teaching that I learned through the journey. I always thought, the deeper emotions, God, you can't even go there. They're a dangerous ground. So you have to react. You have to get out of them. And this has been speeded up. It's been magnified as a stimulus in life. People need to find out that these emotions can actually be, as Brandon would say, gateways to the soul. They can be gateways to self-realization. They can be healthy and supportive.
And then once that realization has taken place, it becomes very easy to see through the silly games or the stupid games that media is presenting.
They're superficial and ridiculous when you actually take a step back and look at what is actually taking place. The games, the postures, the lies, the pretenses, or all of it. I mean, it's just it's sad and just massively meaningless, superficial.
I'm coming back to a dear friend of ours. I'm coming back to a dear friend of ours who posted before we even started, and I shared the post with you.
Right.
Doing the converse side of phobia of what if somebody is phobic, and I was laughing about that comment because I thought, well, if somebody's phobic, maybe that's a good phobia. Maybe that's a good phobia. Just stay there. Just don't engage.
We can teach you a phobia here, but I don't think you need it with social media. I think it's healthy. Hang on to it.
Exactly. I don't think so either. Anyway, Kevin, I think we've said it all. I think it's been said very, very clearly, and I thank you. Really, really thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining here and to speak so clearly.
Always a pleasure,
about
Gaby.
the dangers of hanging out too much in social media and engaging, especially for the youngsters. So please do whatever you can to engage them in real life and to bring the family together, the friends together, and round the table. How great is that? The Christmas is the holidays absolutely. Are coming. So good opportunities, very good opportunities. Thank you very much, Kevin, for joining me today. Please, can you keep your computer open? Don't sign out, because if there's been any technical hitches, the replay will record it properly, but don't sign out. So stay here. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for listening, for joining us today. And we'll be coming again soon, one more time before the end of the year. My next guest will be Brandon, and I will share what we're going to talk about soon. But that's all for now. And thank you so much. Lots of love, and see you soon. Thank you.